carbon dioxide that is given off by the coal, and the coal burns and absorbs oxygen from the air, produces carbon dioxide gas. So the carbon dioxide gas is 3 times as weight as the coal itself. So figure 60 elements worth of gas are going in the air from coal. Natural gas, half.
Hey, what's up? It's Adam the Annihilator here at the Charlestown Senior Center. We're going to be interviewing a bunch of the folks about the presentation that they just watched, which you'll hear a lot about. It's about nuclear energy, it's about offshore wind, and it's also about solar and natural gases. Let's see what people have to say. And maybe I can sell a few solar panels and get some commission while I'm here.
If that had been a legitimate pool game, you would have been disqualified.
Okay, Adam the Annihilator here with Ocean State Car, and I'm with...
Hi, I'm Bill Isabella.
Carmela, Chiara,
Jet Verts.
Ken McCourt.
Jessica Drew Day.
Mike Armenia.
And what happened here today?
Well, today I was invited to give a talk on energy, climate, and environment to the Charlestown Current Events Group, and they were extremely interested and asked a lot of great questions.
Well, we had Mike Armenia come in and he gave us a fascinating talk on energy, unbiased, but basically the different forms of energy, the pros and the cons, and letting us decide for ourselves which we like best. Outstanding presentation. Did a great job.
I thought he gave a great presentation.
I am a retired teacher, both in high schools and colleges. That what we got in there was a session, a quick and heavy and dense, right to the point, all the facts, all the figures, class in nuclear energy, solar energy, wind energy, that there was also an exchange of questions, that I feel that it's important to be able to educate the people as to what our options are so we can make a legitimate decision.
He tried to educate us on the right things to use or to encourage our Congress to pass for our energy so our prices could go down, because right now energy is very expensive.
Maybe summarize some of your presentation, like what were the things that you touched upon?
Well, the things that we touched about were comparing all the different kinds of energy that are used all over the world to determine which ones are effective and cost effective and which do the best for the environment or the least harm for the environment. And I've pretty much convinced everybody here to take another look at nuclear, because it is very much different nowadays with the newest types of reactors than it was back in the day when we had only these big ones that could melt down. So the current reactors that we've been working on the last 10 years, and I've built reactors, can't melt down and can't explode and do very little harm to the environment. And you can walk away from them safely without having to worry about any damage.
I've been a proponent of nuclear energy for a long time, so it broke no new ground with me. But as information concerned me, which concerned me the most, was the use of these much smaller reactors. I thought would be just a modular type thing, as opposed to these monolithic stations. A number of these smaller ones, I think, is the way to go.
We need to look at definitely nuclear power. If anybody's concerned about CO2 issue, nuclear power is truly the only source of green energy besides the hydroelectric that it could. And nuclear station, I looked at the cost of building a nuclear power station versus wind turbine. In terms of kilowatt hours production, nuclear power is a half. So that's what we really need to look at. And what he's talking about, nuclear power, absolutely, that's the way to go.
Personally, even though I'm not a nuclear scientist, from what I saw today and what I've been able to read and become aware of, I do think it's not nuclear, but it's what I call the mini nuclears, not the big giant plants, because the mini ones can then be placed in smaller regions and be able to service an immediate neighborhood, that we don't need to build something the size of the malls up in Providence to be able to power Rhode Island.
I was always under the impression that nuclear would be, I grew up in the 80s, 90s when they were teaching kids to be afraid of, nuclear meltdowns.
I still am.
Yeah, radiation. And so the technologies have changed. We're in 2025, so, we can now, with having smaller nuclear plants, the waste is very small.
So based on what he said, what would you say is the best form of energy?
The thorium reactors. I thought that was one of the best things to use, and of course, I believe fossil fuels.
The whole idea of using energy in this country is going to be taking a pretty big turn right now with the new administration, because the kinds of things that can be done with shale gas and fracking are very important, because gas can reduce CO2 emissions, if you're worried about them, by about 1/2 immediately. And then my group, the Energy Council of Rhode Island, are advocating that we do that first, natural gas, go to mostly natural gas, and then in 2 decades try to get our nuclear capability back to the point where we can build these advanced reactors. Our current problem is regulation. We have so much regulation that ties our hands that the only country that is really advancing quickly with these small, safe reactors is China. And in fact, our U.S. government has helped China build the most advanced reactor ever in the world, the thorium molten salt reactor. It's running now, and it should be only a few years before China can export that. And at that point in time, we've kind of lost our energy dominance, because it will be cheap burning thorium instead of uranium. So that's the main message.
Okay, and what do you say to people that are kind of scared of the word nuclear? Because it is scary if you don't know.
Yeah. So nuclear, you have a right to be scared of nuclear if a bomb is going to be dropped on your head, because that radiation, well, first of all, the blast will kill you, but the radiation is going to be acute. People that think that meltdowns are like nuclear bombs are wrong. The worst meltdown ever was at Chernobyl in Russia in 1986, and it killed less than 100 people. Russia told its firefighters to go in and put out a fire and didn't tell them that it was a nuclear accident, and 52 died within 2 days, and another 50 died within maybe a week. But after that, nobody died, and Russia sent in 600,000 different people for short periods of time to make that reactor site safe again, which it is now. You can go there as a tourist. But those 600,000 people only stayed for a short time.
Right.
And and none of them are sick.
That's true. There has been a lot of scare because of 3 Mile Island, because of the Chernobyl. However, the nuclear power technology has progressed considerably, okay? So I think it's a scare tactic, but let's face it, France's electric energy comes from nuclear power, 85%, okay? And our U.S. submarines, they all have nuclear reactors over 45 years. Neither France or any of our nuclear reactors at the submarine had an accident, okay? If French could do it, we, Americans, certainly could do it. We should be going for nuclear power.
Once upon a time, if you said that it was the nuclear solution, it meant total world annihilation. But this is to be able to provide the most concentrated form of electricity in the smallest physical space, so that it doesn't have to take decades to build, and that it's confined and people don't have to worry about it.
In regards to offshore wind and just wind power in general, what's your take on that?
Well, offshore wind and solar, for that matter, are very dilute fuels. In other words, they take up large land areas and produce almost insignificant amounts of energy compared to what the world really needs. So in the last 20 years, offshore wind or wind in general and solar have provided less than 5% of the world's energy usage. And that number is not going to change. It'll go down. And the reason that it's so insignificant, solar and wind, is because our growth in energy over the past 10 years, say, has gone up significantly higher than offshore wind and solar could provide. So 2 or 3% for wind, 2 or 3% for solar in the world, that's where we stand now, and that number is not going to change no matter what we do, because most of the world burns fossil fuel.
How about offshore wind, for example? What do you think of that?
Offshore wind, again, I'm not been a proponent of that, so he's preaching this quiet with me. We know it's the most expensive form of energy there is. It runs less than 40% of the time. Not very good. The benefit, the return on investment, return and the benefit just isn't there.
I don't believe in it. I just can't understand. We had so much wind the other day, and it did nothing. So these poor people who depend on that don't get energy, and then they're cold, and they buy heaters to heat.
The more I've learned about wind power, I am totally against wind power. It's not the answer.
I go along with what's going on. However, we need to go beyond wind, because wind turbine is not steady form of energy coming in, and it's too expensive. If Rhode Islanders really want to reduce energy cost, they need to listen to the Energy Council, and we definitely look at all of the above.
So how about offshore wind and just wind power in general? What do you think of that?
Is that like 2 questions?
Yeah.
Well, my answers are no, no, and no.
Okay. How about solar?
That's 1 no.
How about solar?
Solar, same thing. We're just not there. Someday everything will be run by solar, I'm sure, but that's long after I'm gone. So.
You know, I mean, I have them knocking at my door all the time to want to sell me panels. And I just say, I rent. Sorry.
Let's play that scenario out. Hold on. I'm gonna knock at your door. You want to buy solar panels, miss?
No, I'm sorry. I'm not the owner. I just rent.
I'm not interested in buying solar panel.
No, I do have.
I'm not gonna get any commission today. So what would you encourage people to do? Is there anything that they can do to get this word out there?
Well, the thing that I'm doing, which is part of a group that's been formed in Rhode Island called the Energy Council of Rhode Island, is basically do the kind of education that we're doing today. It would be great if we could get our local governments and our state governments to sit down and listen to us, but that's very hard to do since most of them have bought into wind and solar as being renewables that are going to run the state and the country. That's absolutely impossible to do, but for some reason they bought in. So what I advocate is a sort of energy policy insurance. In other words, have engineers do something that satisfies both the political conundrum that we're in as well as the physical problem of providing enough energy. And for me, that turns out to be, or for my group, the Energy Council, it turns out to be switch to natural gas as quickly as you can. Rhode Island right now is producing all its in-state energy from natural gas. Go completely natural gas. That cuts your emissions in half immediately. And then in 2 decades, go to nuclear, the small modular nuclear reactors, and do that before China does. We make nuclear submarines here in Rhode Island. Why can't we make the reactors, and why can't we bring in businesses that will thrive on a stable amount of power, like the artificial intelligence farms that Bill Gates and others want to bring here?
So what is your ultimate takeaway from this presentation?
My ultimate takeaway, let me see, what would I say? That it confirmed a lot of things I already knew, but I picked up some new information on nuclear, and that's what I walked away with the most.
Congress needs to move quickly and make decisions on getting our energy prices down. And they need to move fast to help our poor people so that they don't suffer or die, God forbid, from the cold, because we've had really cold weather.
We need natural gas to hold us over, and we're looking and really changing the mindset of Americans and Rhode Islanders and opening our minds to nuclear and new technologies.
Yes, I am glad that we have a council like that who is pushing for nuclear and educating everybody. That's what we need to do. We need to educate the whole Rhode Islanders that nuclear is the way to go. That is truly the green energy. If we want to reduce carbon dioxide, that's what we need to do.
This was a good group here. Asked a lot of questions, and they're seniors, and they've asked a lot of questions. So that's encouraging.
Okay.
I would like to see more students come. There was one student here today. There are a few more from URI who just phoned in to me and said they missed it, but they want to go. So I'll be doing another one of these in the local area pretty soon.
All right, everybody, thanks for watching. We learned a lot today about all different kinds of power, nuclear, solar. Ken's gonna buy a solar panel for me.
Don't hold your breath on that.
Anyway, thank you for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Do you want to go to Chernobyl with me?
No, I'd rather go out to Galilee and get on one of the fishing boats and catch a striped bass.
Okay, I'll do that.
Thanks, everybody, for watching for the whole time, and have a good day.
All right, see you guys.